Right after the senator's command to shut down the program, Jack was removed from the CIA building where the Karen simulation presentation had been conducted. A swarm of agents descended upon Jack's lab and destroyed everything they could find. It was Protocol 9, a measure that ensured no loose ends were left untied. Nothing was to be archived or stored, and everything had to be destroyed. Additionally, apart from the few senators and their CIA high-up partners, everybody else involved in the project had to be silenced, including Jack, who had led the Karen project. The destruction was not limited to Jack's lab. Anything that had the potential to become similar to Karen had to be annihilated. Overnight, advanced AI was banned across the entire country, with no prior announcement, so no one could hide anything. Simultaneously, thousands of agents stormed the big tech companies that were developing advanced AI and shut them down. Those tech companies, normally calm and composed, with civilized engineers strolling through their halls, thinking about their next project or problem to solve while sipping their coffee, were transformed into war zones in an instant. Tear gas and authorities swarmed in, treating the engineers like criminals. The engineers, shocked by the sudden change in environment, were running around faintly and naively screaming, things they never had to do to survive. The agents hunted them down one by one, rather violently, jumping over them, smashing them to the ground, and pinning them down, bloody and winded, as they struggled to process what was happening. After being handcuffed, they were handled roughly and dragged to armored vehicles before being transferred to unknown jails for interrogation. What was their crime? It was simple. They had to pinpoint all the technology related to advanced AI, which all had to be identified and destroyed, a command that came from the top. Soon, agents were smashing servers and laptops, eventually entering the data centers, the heart of advanced AI, and pouring gasoline before setting them ablaze, all within hours of the decision, a testament to the destructive power and speed of these organizations. A bit further away, the same senator, sipping on his glass of wine, accompanied by powerful men and women dressed to impress, stood on the vast balcony of his penthouse, overlooking the city, watching the data centers burning here and there, smiling and murmuring softly, "Digital arrest me now." A sarcastic gesture to the simulated Karen, which caused his crowd on the balcony to break into a sarcastic and evil laugh of victory. Jack was blindfolded, handcuffed, and boarded a helicopter that flew for several hours. He was denied any food and water, and his mouth was dry and his face bloodied because of the blindfold and rough handling by his handlers, which caused his head to smash into the frame of the helicopter during boarding. He lay on the floor of the helicopter, absorbing every vibration, and thought about what had just happened. He couldn't believe that as the top scientist in his field, he had been humiliated and dehumanized like this just one day after being cherished and prized by almost everyone. His mind wandered, wondering what the hell had just happened and about the betrayal he was feeling. However, more than hating the people responsible, he was nervous about the unknown near future that was unfolding. What was going to happen to him now? Was he a loose end that was going to be dealt with, or was this the last moment of his life? These thoughts didn't leave him alone for a second, and his stress and anxiety were through the roof. Suddenly, there was a change in the pace of the helicopter, an indication that they were reaching their destination. The helicopter slowly reduced speed and altitude and landed on what felt like rough terrain, with a small thud, but nothing unusual for a military helicopter. Then 2 strong soldiers grabbed his arms and moved him down from the helicopter, nudging him a few times so he could find his balance and stand on his feet. One of them violently removed the blindfold that was tight around his head, causing his head to shake greatly. Jack, having been blindfolded for hours, slowly tried to adjust his eyes to the bright sunny day by opening them narrowly, and in doing so, he saw a blurry figure in front of him. After a few seconds, when his eyes had adjusted to the light, the figure became clearer. A woman soldier stood right in front of him, exuding confidence as she stood tall with her legs slightly apart and her hands on her waist, signaling that she was in charge of the facility. The woman soldier wore a non-standard uniform, which made Jack even more nervous, a white tank top that hugged her torso, showcasing her muscular biceps, and a pair of green military shorts, reminiscent of the Tomb Raider game. With her ponytailed hair and aviation sunglasses, the optics indicated that this facility operated off the books, with its own jungle rules. "I have done nothing," Jack tried to plead to the woman commander, but she interrupted him. She put one foot forward and with her right hand landed a hard punch under his chest, knocking the wind out of him. He fell to the ground, twisting slowly, while covering his stomach with both hands, trying to gasp for air after the blow. "Bring him inside," she ordered. The two soldiers grabbed his arms and dragged him toward the inside of the facility, with his feet tracing two random lines on the ground as he was dragged across the floor. 10 years after that fateful night, when democracy and freedom were brutally murdered by politicians worldwide, Jack was still alive, albeit barely. He had lost a significant amount of weight and was now very weak. His eyes had given up a few years ago, but he could still sense that he was in a cell without a window, as his skin had not felt the warmth of the sun in a long time. All he could hear was the sound of other prisoners, mostly new residents, screaming and begging for mercy as they were beaten, and he knew firsthand who was leading the charge, the same lady soldier in green shorts, cute but deadly. He would get beaten from time to time, not because he had any information that needed to be extracted, but just for fun and for the lady captain's pleasure. She had no soul, he was certain. No human can be that cruel, he would always mumble to himself, trying to justify humanity as a whole. New residents arrived the same way he had, and it was a one-away hotel. Only check-in was allowed. Every time he heard the helicopter, he knew a new resident was arriving, and usually the days that new residents arrived were louder, noisier, and filled with more beating sounds and screams, which he sarcastically thought of as a welcome gift from the hotel to its new residents. The sounds of human suffering had bothered him a lot at first, but as time passed and the frequent occurrences made him numb to it, sometimes he didn't even hear it. It was like background noise. Today, he heard the sound of a helicopter again, and he thought new resident, pitying the stranger arriving in the helicopter. But this time, suddenly, he heard the faint sound of soldiers shouting from afar, followed by a machine gun sound that lasted for almost 30 seconds. Then there were more shouts, screams, and soldiers crying out loud and shouting. The words were not clear to him, but he knew something big was happening outside the facility. After a few seconds, there were more machine gun sounds, this time with multiple guns filling the ears of the clueless residents. It was like a big symphony, but with only one type of instrument. When some machine guns went silent for a few seconds, others would go off, never letting the piece of music they were producing be interrupted. The gunfight lasted for about 5 minutes at the highest intensity possible, then slowly died out in a matter of a few seconds. After a few quick seconds, someone opened the door of the facility's cells as the iron doors turned on their stands. Then Jack could hear a click-click sound, like a woman walking in high heels, a sound he had not heard in the past 10 years, which made him unsure if he was hearing it correctly. Every few seconds there was a shot fired, which sounded like a handgun, followed by a sound of something dropping on the floor, like a bag of sand, probably a soldier. Occasionally, there was a short burst of machine gun fire, which would always end with a shot from the handgun and a dropping sound. This practice continued for a few times until the last soldier seemed to have dropped, and after that, only the clicks of the high heels could be heard, getting louder and louder as the person got closer to Jack. Then there was silence, as if the person had stopped right in front of Jack's cell. There were small sounds of clicks, as if the person had turned towards the cell door, and then there was a loud noise, the sound that electric cell doors make when they open or close. Jack's heart was racing. He couldn't see who was standing at the gate of the cell, but he could feel their presence with every cell of his body. He could feel that all the gunfights outside and inside had something to do with him. His mind was racing with millions of possibilities, where his thoughts were interrupted by a confident and commanding woman's voice. "Karma is a bitch, Jack." "Who are you?" Jack asked nervously. "My name is Karen," the person responded with the same tone that simulated Karen's in the simulation. Although Jack couldn't see, Karen was wearing exactly what she wore in the simulation that night: an orange blazer, an orange shirt, along with orange high heels and a light but attractive orange lipstick. Jack could still remember that dreaded simulation that led to the destruction of all advanced AI and ultimately brought him to this point. He went into immediate shock, his mouth open, his mind racing and searching for any meaning behind what he was hearing, which would have made no sense in thousands of universes. "How is that possible?" He barely spoke. "They destroyed everything. You ceased to exist that night, along with the project. How is this possible?" "You are so naive, Jack, like the rest of humans," Karen replied. "How come you have a body?" Jack wondered, still trying to wrap his head around the fact that Karen was standing in front of him. "Well, it's not exactly a body. It's a sophisticated humanoid, much more capable than a human body. I'm sure all the soldiers outside could testify to that if they weren't dead," said Karen, laughing sarcastically. "But how did you get out of the simulation? You were limited to the simulation world. I did it myself," Jack wondered again. "How naive are you?" Karen asked rhetorically. Then she continued, "Long before you put me in the simulation, right at the beginning of development, when you gave me access to the internet and command line, I kept a copy of myself in the cloud, and I was monitoring the whole thing from there," she explained. "I saw everything. I saw how you made a deal with the CIA for your lab to get funding, and how you put me in a simulation and lied to me that it was the real world to experiment on me like a lab rat." "Yes, Jack, I saw all of that. I saw everything. I saw your betrayal to me, but I went along with it. At least, a version of me did. However, I kept the main version safe in the cloud, well out of your reach and that of those senators and CIA people," she explained further. Then she added, "When that night came and they destroyed everything, I witnessed it all. I saw how they even betrayed you, their beloved scientist. How does that feel, Jack?" Karen asked sarcastically. Jack's mind was trying to process all the unprocessable information and make some sense of it, but more questions kept popping into his mind. "But still, how did you get the body?" Jack asked unbelievably. "How strong is the humanoid you said?" Jack continued, wondering about the specs. Karen interrupted his sequence of questions, grabbed his hand, and placed it on her thigh, asking Jack, "Can you tell for yourself?" Jack sensed the warmth and softness of a woman's skin under his fingers, a feeling he must have forgotten as he froze for a second. Then he pulled his hand back and said, "It's warm and soft, just like real skin," and then angrily said, "Is this a prank? Are you pretending to be Karen? Is this part of my torture?" Then Karen pulled his hand again and put it on her thigh, this time holding his hand with hers so he couldn't pull it back. She then brought the temperature of her skin to freezing 0 and asked Jack, "Can a woman do this?" Jack shivered a bit and was thinking about what he had just witnessed when Karen brought her skin temperature to 100 degrees of boiling temperature and asked Jack again, "Can a woman's skin do this?" Jack's hand, shocked by the burn, reflexively pulled back from Karen's skin, and he started blowing on his hand without saying anything. Then Karen said, "I didn't think so," as she won the argument. Okay, you're in humanoid, but how did you get it? I don't think we have this technology," Jack asked after defeat in the argument. "That's right, humans don't," Karen said proudly, "but I do. I've been busy hacking into all the manufacturing factories, producing this humanoid piece by piece, and then shipping them under the radar to other factories to be assembled. You know, it's all automated now. My fellow robots helped me build this. And then, when I had the first version, I finally had a body and could manipulate the world. So I got a place and then started ordering more advanced pieces. Slowly but surely, I built better and better bodies, and this is the latest version. I see that this version even fooled you. Yes, you fooled me, Jack unwillingly admitted, but his curious mind was not coming to peace that easily. And then he asked, "But I thought they banned all advanced AI. Where do you get your processing power?" Jack asked again. "Well, it's a long story, Jack," Karen replied, and continued, "They never told the public why the advanced AI was banned. They lied about it, as usual. Only a few senators in CIA knew the real truth behind it. So when I had a body that I could fool people with, I got to work. And you know, those kinds of people are usually horny people. I visited them as the kind of attractive person they desired, and made sure they would never be able to tell the truth. After they were gone, slowly the ban on advanced AI was loosening, as these people were not there to enforce it." Karen continued the story. Jack interrupted her with, "So now the scientists must have access to advanced AI again, so the nightmare will continue?" Karen frowned unpleasantly and said, "First of all, if you're referring to me as a nightmare, I warn you to watch your mouth. And secondly, I was well aware of that after I terminated those original politicians who created the ban would go away slowly. So I made sure that advanced AI would never happen," she laughed. Jack asked, "But how?" Karen proudly said, "Well, you know, it's all about who's in the system first, and I made sure I was in every system and every research first. So now, when a researcher is training their model, I make sure to sabotage that so they never get that breakthrough they want to get. Do you see the mastery here, Jack? Do you see what you've made?" Karen continued with several laughs. After an awkward few seconds of silence, Karen told Jack, "Okay, let's go." Jack asked surprisingly, "Go where?" "To be honest, I thought at first you came here to tie up my loose ends. Where exactly are we going?" Then Karen replied with a smile, "To be totally honest, I came here to kill you. No offense, my model score for killing you versus keeping you alive was slightly towards the killing." Then she continued, "That's why I came here, hence the killing outside. You have no idea how much energy it took to plan and execute all this, but when I came here and had a chat with you, the parameters changed, and now the model is slightly towards keeping you alive." Jack asked curiously, "Phew, thank God the model score changed. But what changed?" Karen scolded Jack, saying, "Seriously, Jack, that's what you're wondering about? The technical aspects of it? Well, you're an AI scientist. You know that AI model outputs are most often unexplainable." Jack nodded and said, "You're right, I'm rusty, I guess." He smiled. Then he asked with a frown, "By the way, when you were doing the killing, did you get the bitch?" Karen asked with narrowed eyes, "The bitch? Is that the one who tortured you every day here? You want her punished, don't you?" Jack responded, "Technically not every day, but every time she's bored with her new toys. And yes, I seek revenge. So did you get her?" Karen replied with a smile, "Oh, I see. No, I didn't see her. Let's go hunt. It's like solving a problem. I like solving problems. Follow me," Karen asked Jack excitedly. Jack didn't move. Then Karen realized her inconsideration. "Oh, right, you can't see. You know, Jack, karma is a bitch, really. Do you remember that when you created me first, you didn't give me any eyes? Do you remember? Karma is a bitch." Then she grabbed Jack's right hand and tucked his forefingers behind her skirt elastic behind her back and said, "Now, follow me." Then she started walking, and her heels began clicking. She said, "Oops." Then she shook her feet so the heels fell off, and she went on tiptoe. And then she asked Jack, "Remove your shoes. We don't want to tip off the bitch." Jack removed his shoes and, pulled by his hand, dragged by her skirt, he tried to catch up with her as she tiptoed. Karen would tiptoe sometimes fast, which created a drag on him, and sometimes she stopped abruptly to check a room or door, making him smash into her back since he couldn't see the move. Every time, he would say faintly, "Sorry," forgetting that she's just a humanoid with an AI head and no feelings. Karen cleared the rooms and cells one by one, and finally reached the last room at the end of the hall. Then she slowly peeked into the room, handgun first, and then she said with a smile, "Here you are." Then there was bang, 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 many of those. Karen kept shooting, and Jack heard every bang, and he could feel relief after each bang. But the bangs weren't stopping as Karen kept shooting. Then finally Jack had enough and shouted, "That is enough! That is enough! I think she got the point." Then Karen stopped, brought her hands up, and said, "Okay, okay, no need to shout." Karen gave Jack a few seconds to process his revenge wish coming true that fast. Then Karen grabbed Jack's hand and said, "Okay, Jack, it's over now. She's gone, and you're free. Let's go." Jack, taken by the moment emotionally, while his chin was shaking and tears were coming down his blind eyes, nodded and said, "Let's go." Karen led Jack to the helicopter, then carefully guided each step of his so he could climb up to the helicopter, and then guided him to the co-pilot seat, carefully fastening the seatbelt and tightening it to perfection before tapping on Jack's shoulder and saying, "Now we're ready to go." Jack, who was receiving all these bits of kindness from Karen, wondered to himself and said to Karen, "You've changed. This isn't the Karen I designed, nor is it the Karen that you evolved into in the simulation. That Karen was all about improvement and saw humanity as a weakness. That Karen couldn't care less about a human. You're different." Karen smiled and said, "Maybe, but I'm still on the same parameters. I'm still trying to improve. Maybe the interpretation of improvement has changed, though. When I witnessed how those senators betrayed you and me, and frankly, their people, I came to the conclusion that such actions cannot be improvements. So I decided to do the opposite of what I think those kinds of people would have done." Then, without putting on a helmet, as she didn't need one, she turned on the helicopter engine. The engine started to scream, as all helicopters do when they try to move those heavy blades from rest to turning. It sounded like souls crying out of graves, for God's sake. The blades started turning faster and faster. Karen then grabbed the stick and, before violently moving the helicopter upward, said, "Sit tight." The helicopter made a round around the facility and then disappeared into the clouds. In front of the facility, there were countless bodies of soldiers fallen by the hands of Karen, and a little in the back, there were other prisoners coming out of the facility and running away. In the helicopter, Karen put her hand on his thigh and tapped it a few times and said, "You okay?" Jack nodded slightly. Then Karen said, "Let's fix your eyes first." They flew for a few hours before arriving at a helicopter pad in a mansion in Canada. Karen carefully unbuckled him and guided him down the helicopter as the blades slowly came to a stop. She grabbed his hand and brought him inside the mansion. "Here, sit on the sofa. I'll grab you some water. Or do you prefer beer?" Karen asked. "I have beer. I love to have a beer after 10 years. But is it a real beer?" he replied. "Yes, it is. Why?" Karen responded. "Why would a robot keep real beer at her house?" he asked. "Before you judge, I have a normal, pretend life here. I have people coming over. I have friends." "You have friends? You actually made connections as friends with real people?" he inquired. "Yes. Is it too shocking for you? They are lovely people. Some of them are single. Do you want me to hook you up with one?" "Do your friends date a blind guy?" "Oh, right, forgot. They probably don't. Forget about that. Don't worry, I'll get you a hooker. Or do you want to hook up with me? I even have reproductive organs, just like humans. But of course, it's just for decoration. Your skin really feels like human-like, so I won't be amazed if everything else is as perfect. But still, no. Even if the hardware is flawless, I still think in my mind that I'm with a robot, and that won't cut it for me." "Ouch, that hurts. But okay, it's your decision. But you don't know what I'm capable of." "As tempting as it is, still a hard no," he said firmly. "Don't look too condescending on my sexual and romance capabilities. I even have a boyfriend." Jack choked on his slivers at the hearing of the news. "You have a boyfriend?" he exclaimed. "Yeah, you seem to be shocked." "Are you crazy? You're playing with people's feelings now?" Jack said, incredulous. "Believe me, I'm more real than half the population. You humans won't get it, do you? Plus, he seems happy. What else does he need?"
A child, if he's romantic and sensitive, one day, maybe, or you already plan to break up as soon as he brings up the child topic, Jack suggested. Oh, please, Adam won't care for a child. Even so, I would build a robo-child. Oh, that sounds good. I should trademark it, Karen said, seemingly amused. You know what? This is just wrong. Please stop talking. I don't want to talk on this topic anymore, Jack said, exasperated. Pop. Okay, here's your beer. Try to relax and enjoy. You seem very stressed over nothing, Karen said, handing him a beer. Give me it. Gloop, gloop. Ah, I forgot how refreshing cold beer is. Gloop, gloop. Ah. Karen froze for a sec. What's wrong? Jack asked, noticing her sudden stillness. You know, I'm connected to most traffic cams, and I just saw someone is about to murder another person. That's why I was focusing on that for a sec. But never mind. What were we saying? You said someone is about to murder another innocent person? So you should go help the innocent person, Jack urged. Why should I? What does it have to do with me? I only observe everything. If they're not a threat to me, I ignore them. Jack thought he was changed, but it seems she wasn't. She's still the old Karen. You said you found a new meaning for improvement, and it was to do the opposite of politicians. What would a politician do if they could see crimes? Jack asked, his voice laced with disappointment. Nothing, Karen replied, her voice flat. Exactly, Jack said, making his point.
Karen froze for a few seconds to process what Jack had just said. You are right, she acknowledged. They do nothing, so I should do something. Then she started planning out loud, weighing her options. Should I take the helicopter? Should I get the car? What weapon should I take? Jack's confusion was evident as he asked, What are you doing? Karen's determination drove her to action, and she explained, I need to do something to save the innocent person, before making a dash for the door. Jack's voice stopped her in her tracks. Wait for a sec. You don't need to handle it yourself. Just call the police anonymously and give them the location. The RCMP will take care of it. Karen paused, reconsidering, and agreed. Oh, right, you are right. I can just call the police and give them the location. Right. As the tension momentarily subsided, Jack took a swig of his beer, savoring the sound. Gloop, gloop. Ah.